May the 6th, 2024. Guys, you're looking at a picture of someone we're very familiar with, probably demonically infested, and we'll go into that article in just a moment. Let me say this first. We had talked about the pine beetles after this drought this year, and we got the reports in from our utility companies today that our state in Mississippi, we lost 12.5 million trees to the drought and then the pine beetles that come in behind that when they're real dry. And here in our small, we got just under 10 acres, we didn't cut all the dead ones. We cut the ones that were in danger of hitting the house, and the power company cut a few up on the power line. But it was 150 trees in our yard. Some were 80 feet tall, been here forever. And that's just the damage the drought has caused here. We hope it doesn't happen again. Now, it didn't get into our hardwood trees, so in the areas that we have cut these big trees, and it was quite a job, guys. The hardwoods are starting to fill in some of the gaps as the spring's coming in, and we're starting to see the leaves. And also, there's a silver lining on everything. And we have thousands of trees on our land. We actually didn't cut a tree to build our home. We kind of built it up in the trees, and we've had, I think, now 3 different pine beetle infestations in the last 20 years. Katrina was the first one here, and we had to cut big trees right on the house. We had to do it again because these storms we've had lately would have crushed our home here if we had not done that. But anyway, 12.5 million, that's a large number that for just this one state, and it's spread across the southeast pretty much. But let me know in your area how that is. And let's just hope and pray, guys, this summer is not as bad as last summer because it was pretty rough here, both heat-wise and then destruction of the forest. Back to this article. We're 3 weeks away from something that I think has been planned for a long time, and many of you also realize that. Let me say this. We've heard this year one disease after the other, one infection, one problem after the other coming, whether it's bird flu, whatever it is, different things are trying to reach up and grab the attention of the world population. It's not working real well because of all the crap that went down with the last medical emergency that we had. You know what I'm talking about. So right now, people are not so easily swayed by the CDC, the WHO, and all of that because they were lied to about almost everything, and it cost a lot of people a lot. So why have they not, right here before the election, forced another situation on us to slow everything down? As far as you could shut down the elections and things like that, we've talked about it, right? Why are they waiting? Is it because they want this law in place? I think it is. They're getting everyone prepared, but they know that we are all a lot smarter than we were 4 years ago. Well, let's read this. 44 senators have called on Biden to reject 2 agreements that surrender the U.S. sovereignty to WHO, the World Health Organization. We knew this was coming. They've been talking about it. They vote on it at a meeting starting May the 27th, goes on for 4 or 5 days. You need to get in touch with your congressmen and senators, even though I don't think they listen to us anymore. They have their own agenda. And I think what they're doing is they're going to use this as their total world control mechanism. This May 27th through June the 1st, global elitists and world leaders from across the West will gather in Geneva, Switzerland for the WHO's 77th World Health Assembly. Attendees from all of the 194 WHO member countries are set to vote on major amendments to the international health regulations that would effectively strip all power away from sovereign countries and turn it over to the WHO's Global Health Board in the event of a pandemic. Do you see how dangerous? This is that dark cloud coming upon this planet. If the ratifications are agreed to this month, the WHO will also be granted sole authority over what constitutes a pandemic. Anything they say, and total lockdown, total whatever they want is supposed to happen. How will they enforce this? That's a very important question. Will it be the United Nations military? Will it be the military's from each nation that are the 194 nations who are going to agree to do this. It says we have seen over the past years just about everything qualifies as an existential threat to public health, including but not limited to misinformation, parents protesting at school boards, free speech, and of course, racism. The fact that the WHO is on the cusp of unrestricted authority to decide these measures should terrify every American, should terrify every person on the planet that's not part of this elite demonic group. What's more, the changes also include plans for a mandatory and universal vaccine passport system that's overseen by the WHO. Now look, they have made every mistake possible since they've been in existence, but now they want to give it all over to them. Who do you think is pulling these strings? In fact, the globalist organization has already contracted a German-based company called T-Systems to develop the technology. Now, this digital passport will be, guys, tied into your money and everything else. So there's one control mechanism from it right there without military intervention. We'll see how far this goes. It can be recalled on July 1st, 2023, the WHO took up the EU system of digital COVID-19 certification to establish a global system that will help protect citizens across the world from ongoing and future health threats, including pandemics. We're here to help you. Most dangerous thing can be said. This is the first building block of the WHO Global Digital Health Certification Network that will develop a system for global verification of health documents to deliver better health for all. When they say that, guys, you know you're in trouble. The WHO will facilitate this process globally under its structure, with the first use case being the convergence of digital COVID-19 certificates from the joint WHO and T-Systems announcements. Let's read this. The WHO will make it easier for its member states to introduce digital vaccination certificates in the future. The WHO is setting up a gateway for this purpose. A gateway to hell is what it is. It enables QR codes on electronic vaccination certificates to be checked across national borders. Full world control of every citizen. It is intended to serve as a standard procedure for other vaccinations such as polio or yellow fever. After COVID-19, the WHO has selected T-Systems, who we know nothing about, as an industry partner to develop the Vaccination Validation Services, VVS. Aside from the fact that the WHO is an international, unelected, and unaccountable body with absolutely no concern for individual freedoms, remember, unaccountable. And it's still led by Tedros, who repeatedly pushed outright lies and crippling restrictions throughout the China virus pandemic, as well as many politicians and mainstream media guys. And this is almost comical when you read something like this. Now, 44 Republican senators have sent a strongly worded letter to Joe Biden urging him to reject 2 forthcoming international agreements under consideration at the WHO. It would compromise the U.S. sovereignty. Now, do you think Biden is listening? Does he care? He cares about his agenda. The man behind the scenes, pulling the strings. Senator Ron Johnson wrote on Twitter or X, 2 international agreements are being considered at this month's World Health Assembly that surrenders U.S. sovereignty again to WHO. Biden should reject them or at least submit any agreement to the Senate as a treaty. The entire Senate GOP conference has signed on to my letter to Biden demanding just that. In their collective statement, the senators criticized the WHO's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, calling it an absolute and predictable failure that caused significant harm to the country, to the world, as a matter of fact. They assert that the U.S. must demand comprehensive reforms within the WHO before considering any amendments to their international health regulation or engaging in a new treaty negotiation that would extend the organization's authority. They need to disband it. It's unelected, again, unaccountable. Get rid of it. Just like some of these other societies floating around this planet that need to be taken out. The U.S. cannot afford to ignore the latest WHO inability to perform its most basic function and must insist on comprehensive WHO reforms. Again, no reforms. Just disband it. Just forget about it. We all have individual doctors, healthcare people, every nation, every state. Get rid of these creeps, because the people that we're talking about in power are behind it. And these people that are in power are here and in other places on the planet. So they're going to push this down our throats as hard as they can. Article 55 of the IHR requires the text of any IHR amendment to be communicated to member states at least 4 months before the WHA at which they are to be considered, as the WHO has still not provided final amendment text to member states. They're going to leave some blanks there they can fill in as needed. We submit that the IHR amendments may not be considered at next month's meeting. Some of the over 300 proposals for amendments made by member states would substantially increase the WHO's health emergency powers and constitute intolerable infringements upon the U.S. sovereignty. As such, it was essential that the WHO abide by the 4-month notice period to allow member states time to ensure that no traces of such proposals were included in a final amendment package for consideration. Having failed to do so, amendments are not in order. Now, they're not going to listen to these senators. They're going to try to push this through, and again, they're trying to protect any U.S. control of its own fate, not some organization that we have seen is diabolical. Now, this is the PDF from the WHO, and this is the revised draft of the negotiating text. I will link to the article. Scroll to the bottom. There, you'll see this there, and you can go there and read it yourself. I basically went over what they're trying to do. They haven't got it all ready because they're going to leave blanks, like I said, as needed, depending on what the situation is, right? But 44 senators are not going to be able to stop this. We're going to have to keep a very close eye on it, and maybe some things can get delayed until we have another election or whatever. But even at that point, you know, you're thinking about warp speed. Will that help? But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. I've got some updates about Buddy, the Siberian Husky. The lady has contacted us, and I've got to get, if you're interested, and we got a friend that's a Marine that is very interested, come in and let me know here in the comments, and we'll find a way to get you their personal phone number. I can't hand it out here. That's why they didn't put it on the actual page about Buddy. And the reason that is because we found out, looking for Bandit for over a year, there's so many scammers out there that take advantage of people trying to help a dog, save a dog, or find a dog. And they're dirty, nasty people, and I don't blame them for not wanting to have their number public. But I've got it, and if you're interested in the pup, and I feel like you're being honest, we will find a way through a personal email or something to get you that number where you can call him directly. But he's in good shape, and there are a lot of people interested in him. And we're hoping and praying that all of this comes out great, and I hope he goes to the Marine veteran that could use the company. I think it would be a blessing to him. But we're watching this, guys. Let me know, and we'll go from there. It's a heads up. Be safe.